Welcome everyone to the GBSN Cross-Border Coffee Break webinar series. Today we have Meeting Blockchain Potential, an interdisciplinary research approach led by Tatiana Novakovic, who is the project manager on the Unblocked project at the Research Institute for Cryptoeconomics at the Vienna University of Economics and Business. So my name is Nicole Zeffrin. I'm the communications officer at the Global Business School Network. I facilitate all of the cross-border coffee break webinar series. And like I said, we have Tatiana Novakovic today. So Tatiana first gained insights about environmental and ecological economics at the Vienna University of Economics and Business. Having specialized in information technology and business information systems, she turned to blockchain technology to research its potential and helping achieve 17 sustainable development goals. Together with a team at Blockchain Hub, Berlin, she researched projects running on blockchain technology and concluded token analysis. The need for interdisciplinary shifted the research to the Research Institute for Cryptoeconomics at WU, where she currently works as the project manager on the Unblocked project, bridging the gap between sustainability and blockchain technology. So really quickly, all of you participants are muted throughout this entire webinar, but you can, however, submit questions at any point without disrupting the presentation. To do this, please click your Q&A button on the black toolbar you see here. And a box will pop up right here. You can input your question here. You may send it anonymously if you'd like by clicking this checkbox, or you can send it with your name and click send. All of the questions submitted throughout the presentation will be put into a queue in which we'll address at the end of the webinar presentation during our Q&A portion. Any questions that are not, we're not able to get to on the live webinar, I will submit to Tatiana afterwards in a Word document, and she will provide some answers. All participants will receive a Q&A report after the webinar. So just really quickly about the Global Business School Network, for those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a network of 79 business schools in 42 countries. Our mission is to improve access to quality, locally relevant management and entrepreneurship education for the developing world. All of our members who join the network all are working toward, believe and are working towards this mission. Our activities lie within three umbrellas. We facilitate and administer capacity building programs related to management education. Across our platform, our network platform, we promote best practice within the industry. And then we also foster a network of partnerships. So we facilitate collaborations amongst our member schools. For more information on GBSN, please visit our website right here, gbsn.org. So here's the agenda today that kind of outlines Tatiana's presentation. She's divided into 4 sections, and like I said, at the end, we'll do a Q&A portion. So I'll hand it over to Tatiana.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for this amazing opportunity to present here. Hello, everyone. I am Tatiana Novakovic. I'm a project manager at the Research Institute for Cryptoeconomics at Vienna University for Economics and Business. So in this presentation, I will be talking and explaining our approach to researching blockchain and related technologies and how we've been doing this in the last year and a half. So the Cryptoeconomics Institute was founded in January 2018, and since then we've been researching blockchain technology in regards to various economic perspectives, and this is why the decision was made to base this institute at the University for Economics and Business, because we have a very diverse offer of many departments that we can work closely together in order to build sustainable ecosystems on blockchain technology. So here we go. So our mission at the Cryptoeconomics institute is actually interdisciplinary research in technology, economics, business, and law, because when we research this new infrastructure, this very new technology, we are researching something that is unfamiliar to us on one hand, but on the other hand, we are creating ecosystems that are going to be run by existing research and existing laws and regulations on top of blockchain technology. So for this, we also needed a cooperation with partners from industry, as blockchain technology is developing extremely fast, and we need to stay very close to the more practical perspective of this technology and stay close to what the startups are developing in this field. Another very important point for us was collaboration with other national and international research institutions, which is what we've been doing in the last year and a half. As interdisciplinarity is the key when researching blockchain technology, we've partnered up with 8 different departments at our university. So we are, of course, very closely working with information systems and operations, where we are looking into smart contracts on blockchain technology, for example. But on the other hand, we are looking into public and tax law and also social security law, because the classification of all of these new assets that we are creating on top of blockchain technology is becoming increasingly important, especially because we will very soon, or we already need to be able to regulate these assets and the technology in general. And in order to correctly regulate all of the interactions on top of this technology, we need to be able to classify these assets correctly. So this is why we are closely working with the Department of Public and Tax Law, but we are also looking into strategy and innovation and global business and trade, where we, for example, look into blockchain applications in the real world, like, for example, looking into how can blockchain help bring more transparency in global supply chains. And of course, because of the nature of the technology, we are closely working with finance and accounting and statistics department, because when we look back to the beginning of this and the birth of this technology, this was the first application of blockchain. By this, I mean Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So for this, we've been very lucky to get assigned 28 professors and researchers from these 8 departments at the university. So these 28 researchers are helping us and supporting us in our process and also in our projects, but they are not working full-time for our institute, but rather contributing on a part-time basis. We have, on the other hand, a core team of the Cryptoeconomics Institute, which consists of currently 7 people. We are led by Dr. Shermin Oshmagir and Professor Alfred Taudes. We currently have 3 PhD students working on blockchain technology and 2 project team members. The research activities so far are listed on this slide. So we've had a couple of publications, like, for example, Disrupting Governance with Blockchain and Smart Contracts from Oshmagir. We've had Taxation on Blockchain, Opportunities and Challenges, and Blockchain as a General Purpose Technology, which will be published in the next couple of months from Filipova. So out of these research papers and our research activities in the past year, 2 very clear research areas have arisen. The first one is blockchain and sustainability, or blockchain for sustainability, and the second is token engineering. I'll come back to that in more detail in a second. We've also had a call for papers very recently, and these papers are now being reviewed and will soon be published in the journal Frontiers in Blockchain. Some of these topics that were submitted included transparency within global supply chains, transparency about individual and collective action, reduction of power asymmetries, and behavior incentives with purpose-driven tokens. token engineering. So the aim of token engineering is to look into existing business models, existing research, and try to apply it to blockchain technology. Because yes, the blockchain technology is new, but the ecosystems that we are creating are not going to be entirely new. We are not reinventing the wheel when it comes to blockchain, but rather applying more efficient systems on a very decentralized and distributed ledger. So when it comes to token engineering and token economy, we need to look into the various functionalities that can be programmed into a token. Like, for example, what kind of behavior will the token incentivize? Does it represent access rights, or does it represent just digitally represent an asset? And all of this needs to be designed in a way that the perfect economic interactions can be achieved. And the methods and the approach of this is, for example, identifying similarities of cryptoeconomics with economics, or identifying token functionality potential, developing a totally new taxonomy, a new vocabulary for these new types of assets that we are creating on blockchain technology, and summarizing all ecosystem design recommendations into scientific papers and concluding all of these findings. So this is what we are doing at Token Engineering. We are looking at blockchain technology from a more mathematical, more technical perspective. And we are, of course, then combining this with applied research projects that we have at the Institute. Another very big project that is also happening at the university is Austrian Blockchain Center, or the ABC. The mission of Austrian Blockchain Center was to make a cluster of all research institutions, national and international, to combine it with companies that are going to support the research activities, and to combine it with public institutions that are regulating these activities, and make a one-stop shop, so to say, for a center for blockchain in Austria. The ABC was approved in November 2018 and was, with that, made the world's largest blockchain competence center. More can be found at the blockchain center.at online. So the 5 research topics of the ABC are going to be cryptoeconomic modeling and blockchain applications for business, legal and political implications, cryptography technology and security, of course. They will be looking into data science methods for blockchain analytics and predictions, and emerging industries in blockchain manufacturing. Out of all of these research activities, we've defined our main research topic, which is blockchain for sustainability. And this is how the Unblocked brand was created. So blockchain is promising to decentralize a lot of centralized markets, a lot of very centralized sectors. It is promising transparency and accountability. But how we are going to achieve this with blockchain technology, and where does blockchain technology really make sense when it comes to tackling SDGs and bringing us closer to a more sustainable future, is the real question. So, for example, when we talk about sustainability in blockchain, we often think about how unsustainable Bitcoin or mining of Bitcoin is. So this was something that we also researched, and in regards to this, many other research activities arose, like, for example, in 2017, when the hype of ICOs, initial coin offerings, and the general hype of cryptocurrencies was happening, a lot of tokens were created that are also based on blockchain, that are claiming to solve sustainability problems and sustainability issues that we have in the world currently. So what we did is we looked into all of these projects, or the majority of these projects, and tried to analyze and give an answer to, are they really going to help us tackle the sustainability issues? So what is blockchain offering in regard to sustainability? So it is offering transparency and accountability in, for example, global supply chains, where provenance of goods and services is incredibly hard to track because of the complexity of supply chain systems, and because of there are too many stakeholders, too many actors from the very production and manufacturing to the end consumer. It is also promising accessibility and inclusion, for example, for unbanked population that is not able to access financial services, for example. And this is exactly what the World Food Programme has already been doing for a couple of years now. So they are offering blockchain-based cryptocurrencies that are accessible for refugees in refugee camps, and that are easily spent in shops in these for these purposes. It is also promising to, or is starting to promise, to incentivize and be able to easily incentivize some kind of behavior, and this is going to be done by using purpose-driven tokens. So this is something that we've been looking at, and for this we must not research blockchain technology from only technical perspective, but we need to research this with sustainability experts. And this is exactly why we teamed up with RC Vienna. The logo can be seen here at the bottom. So RC stands for Regional Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development. These are the sustainability experts that are based at the university here in Vienna, and we've been working with them for almost a year now, analyzing and researching these kinds of projects. The first project that we've done under the Unblocked brand was with Austrian Development Agency. So the Austrian Development Agency financed us to research blockchain in regard to sustainability for 1 year. And we had to limit our research to 3 focus areas, so to say. So the first one was sustainable production and consumption, or the transparency in global supply chains, because blockchain is offering an infrastructure that is transparent, immutable, and very safe for operating these complex transactions that take place in global supply chains. The second and third topic have to do with an impact assessment, and impact entrepreneurship, because currently impact is incredibly hard to track. And with blockchain, we could possibly create a system where a token can be safely and very transparently tracked throughout its lifetime, and then measure the real impact that we have by doing something, or by investing in a project, and so on. The 3 main outcomes of this research project will be the white paper, where we will summarize all of our findings and publish it. It will be online and accessible for download this summer, so most likely in July or August. The second outcome was the conference that took place on 1st and 2nd of April here at the university, and we've had 500 people come to this conference. It was permissionless in the spirit of blockchain. It was free of charge and open to everyone. We've brought 12 different speakers, so we've had startup speakers, we've had policymakers on stage, also people from academia who are researching blockchain technology, and people who are looking into integrating blockchain technology into their business models. And we tried to make a fertile ground where all these different stakeholders can meet and talk about blockchain and how can blockchain help them. And this is what we've achieved. We also had 18 showcasing initiatives in the exhibition area, including startups and other universities who are working on blockchain, and had the opportunity to present their activities and their live tokens that they have. Talks of this the conference are actually online from today on, and you can find them at unblocked.net. Second day was a closed day. We've held workshops with startups and with policymakers and tried to develop pilot project designs. And this is our third outcome of the project. We will have 2 or 3 pilot project designs in ADA partner countries. So ADA stands for Austrian Development Agency. For this project, we of course needed a very diverse portfolio of partners and collaborations and people who are supporting us. So for example, we have Unido that is supporting this project. We have Blockchain Hub and the Sun Protocol, which are blockchain projects, and Marta, which is a local project that is still not working with blockchain, but is looking to integrate blockchain into their platform. And this really helped us take a better look and experience what kind of challenges these startups are going through when it comes to implementing blockchain. From this, we have a much more tangible project, which is relatively new. It is the cultural token of the city of Vienna. This is a pilot project for now and is serving the purpose to research and experience what a token, a city token, could do and what other functionalities can be added to this token in the future. The basic idea of the first pilot project and of this current token is to incentivize CO2 emissions reduction and reward people for reducing CO2 emissions. And these rewards can either be replicated as discounted or free tickets to cultural activities, so to theaters and museum entries. What kind of behavior will be incentivized? So a mobile app will be tracking movements, just like any other app, that native app that we have on our cell phones. It will be tracking the steps or kilometers that have been ridden on bicycle, and it is incentivizing people to ride a bicycle instead of take a car, or to walk to work instead of taking the car. So if the amount of tokens collected is enough, then people are going to be able to spend them in a certain cultural institution. For example, in a museum or a theater. So they will either have a discount or a free ticket, or even a very individualized experience, just like, for example, having a dinner with a certain artist, or working together in a workshop with a certain actor. A challenge in this project is definitely going to be privacy. So the users should be able to use the system with full privacy and not create kind of a citizen scorecard system. So all of the information that is being tracked is not going, or we wish it not to be sent to the governmental institutions. So the privacy of the citizens of Vienna should be should be the first and the most important issue that we are going to tackle. Of course, for this, we needed to team up with a security and privacy group from the Technical University in Vienna. So they are designing this privacy preserving system. City of Vienna is the project owner and is responsible for implementation. Cultural institutions are providing rewards for incentives. And the app that we are going to be using is called Changers. This app has been in existence for 10 years already and is available to download for individuals, but also for companies who are incentivizing their employees to act more green and more sustainable. So this is the app that is going to be tracking all the movements and is going to be showing the number of tokens a person has in their wallet. A third party will be evaluating the project, and this will be the University of Constance. This is in short what we've been doing in the last year and a half, and what we are going to be focusing on in the future. It is going to be more of a token economics institute where we research tokens, where we research what can tokens do, what can be programmed into these tokens, and what kind of functionalities these tokens can bring into more decentralized systems and into more into these entirely new ecosystems that we are creating. So you can contact us at our website, and you can follow us on social media, where we are also very active, and read our blog posts about our activities on Medium, where we very frequently report about what we are doing here at the Cryptoeconomics Institute, like, for example, running a Bitcoin node here at the university. So thank you very much, and I'm now open for Q&As.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tatiana. So quick question. Yes, the slide deck will be available following the webinar. Each participant will receive the slide deck, the webinar recording, as well as the Q&A report. So not to worry on that. Next question. Privacy is increasingly becoming a concern for adoption of technologies. How do you think Industry 4.0 best overcomes this?
This is definitely going to be an issue, especially because blockchain is not GDPR compliant. So overcoming this is heavily going to depend on regulation, I would say, and this is why we need very clear regulation on blockchain-based assets. Overcoming this could be done by simply sending a proof of some kind of activity and not sending the entire information to certain institutions. And by doing so, we can create a very immutable ledger, a very immutable record of transactions, but not be able to see what kind of activities and what kind of maybe not track the movements of citizens in the case of Vienna token, but only send the proof of some kind of activity. Also in the Industry 4.0, the sensors, or the so-called oracles, will play a major role, where the information will be gathered from these oracles. And it is very important that the information that is written on blockchain is true to begin with. So the information that we feed into the blockchain must be true, and then these sensors are not going to be very easily manipulated, or are less easy to manipulate than manual inputs of this information. And then creating and designing sensors in such a way that they are not revealing some personal information will be something that we expect to happen in the next few years.
Okay, next question. What buy-in have you seen from regulators in your experience? Is there a danger of over-regulation?
Yes and no. So blockchain is a governance machine. So it is, with blockchain, we do not need central or centralized authorities anymore. And this is, of course, a very big threat to centralized authorities, and this is how they see it, as a threat. But this is not necessarily something to be worried about, because if we design the infrastructure in a right way, if we design and put these kinds of regulations in a code so that everyone can access this, that everyone has equal rights to this, is going to be something that we are going to see in the next couple of years for sure. Regulation, so we definitely need regulation when it comes to blockchain, over-regulating is not the best answer, but currently, or what has been happening in the last couple of years, is that an enormous number of blockchain projects has been created without any regulation. And this is why a lot of them have failed. This is why a lot of money was invested in projects. And this is why it was also dangerous to play with these kinds of assets on blockchain, and why we now have regulation of blockchain-based assets. So we definitely need regulation, but we are also very happy here in Austria or in Vienna that policymakers are very open to blockchain and are definitely not rushing to over-regulate something they don't understand.
Okay, thank you. Are there specific persons designated at your center to coordinate research on specific themes? For example, if I need to think about researching on supply chain governance, then who to contact?
So Professor Alfred Taudes would probably be the best person for supply chain governance. He is a supply chain expert, and he is also one of the leads of our institution. We have also Dr. Sherman Washmagier, who is coordinating this, but we are accepting like research questions that are fitting into the research topics that we have defined. So blockchain for sustainability and supply chain transparency is definitely one of the issues that we are looking into. But other than that, we currently do not have enough resources to consider any other research topics. So for supply chain transparency, definitely, or supply chain governance on blockchain, definitely contact Professor Alfred Taudes. You can find him at our website.
Thank you. Next question, is blockchain likely to yield more or less relational supply chain than transactional supply chain over time? What are the implications for organizations?
So the applications in supply chains are very diverse, and supply chain has been one topic that has been researched very well, and I think that the research in supply chains began in 2013 when it comes to blockchain, and this is something that is like a very obvious use case when it comes to blockchain. So the complexity of the supply chain, the bureaucracy, and traceability issues are definitely something blockchain can solve, and a lot of projects are already working on this. To name a few is Ambrosus Origin Trail from Slovenia, for example. There is WeChain in Asia, and what they are doing is that they are creating tokens and basically access rights to these kinds of platforms, to these certain ecosystems. So digitalization and reducing bureaucracy is something that blockchain will help with, but then the end consumer should also have a very easy to see path of the project and where the project was produced. So some of the projects are creating this for the end consumer as well by creating a QR code and allowing people to track all the information on a public blockchain. And on the other hand, the governance systems in supply chains are something that blockchain will definitely be able to contribute to. And this is, I think, in my opinion, at least the most important potential of the technology when it comes to supply chain transparency. Yeah, it's hard to say because this is what's been happening in the last, let's say, 5 years. The projects very often come to regulatory issues and they cannot develop themselves further. So it remains to be seen.
Okay, got a lot here. apologize if we can't get to all of them. Which specific areas can blockchain help regulating under social inclusion for a developing country like India?
Okay, so the one example that we've been seeing is the example from the World Food Program. So what blockchain can offer is identities on blockchain for people who do not necessarily have IDs. So by having a blockchain-based identity, people would be able to also have access to more financial services. This is again very closely connected with regulatory aspect of a country. But for example, in the refugee camps of the World Food Program, this is what they are doing. They are giving people access to financial services by using cryptocurrencies, or so to say local currencies based on blockchain. So these currencies are running in a refugee camp. They can be used and spent in refugee camp. And these kinds of social inclusions is what blockchain can help with. Also, Moldova is also looking into blockchain-based identities and fighting child trafficking to Russia. So if a passport is based on a blockchain, then it can never be manipulated, it can never be changed. It is a very transparent record of an ID, and this is what can help tackle the problem of child trafficking.
Okay, one is asking, can you please elaborate a bit on the supply chain pilots?
So what we are doing here is that we are designing supply chain pilots, and this is the next outcome that we will have with our current project with Austrian Development Agency. We are basically looking into what really makes sense and where does blockchain need to be implemented when it comes to supply chain transparency. This will be published in our white paper, but there are a lot of existing projects that are already working on this, and they are tackling very different issues when it comes to supply chains. So, as I said, governance issues, trackability issues, and transparency issues in supply chains. So, elaborating on this would maybe take a lot more time, but I would suggest you look into these projects and see what their idea is of tackling supply chain issues. Basically, what they are trying to do is to bring more transparency and more efficiency by automating these transactions. So the Maersk company, for example, the shipping container company, is tackling this with blockchain by automating signatures, by automating all of these paper-heavy processes that they currently have, and using smart contracts increasingly to simply trigger actions instead of waiting someone to start the next step, so to say, in the supply chain. So these smart contracts can very easily be triggered, and the whole process would be more efficient and definitely more optimized.
Tatiana, can you mention where one can access the details on these pilots?
So basically on their websites, they usually have white papers where they explain the ideas, the projects, like Ambrosus, for example, WeChain and Origin Trail are frequently writing blogs, and they are very active on social media where you can track their activities and see who they are working with. So are they tracking coffee? Are they trying to bring more transparency in the luxury goods such as diamonds or expensive wine? So they are publishing this on social media, and this is a very good source, I would say, for blockchain startups, just following their blogs and announcements on websites.
Okay. Is it possible to partner with public institutions from the developing world in this program? How can you do that?
So this is what this was the idea of Austrian Development Agency, and this is what they are doing. They are very much interested in bringing solutions to the developing countries they work with. So they have 12 developing countries, which include Bhutan, Mozambique, Kosovo here in Europe as well, and so on. So they are looking for solutions for these countries in specific. And what we've done is also look into existing blockchain activities in some of these countries and try to define meaningful blockchain-based projects in these countries. So yes, policymakers and certain agencies are very open to this, at least here in Austria. And I know that in Germany, the GIZ, so this is the German equivalent of the Austrian Development Agency, so to say, they are also very active. They have a blockchain lab, and they are very, very active when it comes to research in developing countries. One project I know they're working on is, for example, issuing blockchain diplomas, because in some of these developing countries, it is very easy to manipulate or to falsify university diplomas, and this is what they are trying to tackle, for example, with blockchain, because it is an immutable ledger.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. And like I said, I will provide any unanswered questions to Tatiana, and you will receive a Q&A report after this. Last question, is there any company or supply chain example where blockchain has yielded tangible business advantage?
This is very hard to assess. Most of these blockchain projects are still either in alpha or beta phases. They are still just working on pilot projects and running on test nets. So the three that I already mentioned are very familiar to us and are working a lot on this, but I cannot name one now for and answer this question.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tatiana, for your presentation today. Like I said, all of you will receive the PowerPoint as well as the Q&A report and the webinar recording via email following this webinar. And for any upcoming GBSN cross-border coffee break webinars, just refer to our website. Should be a link on the homepage to access the library as well as any upcoming webinars scheduled. Thank you all, and thank you, Tatiana.
Thank you from my side as well, and thank you for asking the questions. It was really interesting to interact with you all.
All right. We wish everyone a good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.